friends, and welcome to this episode of Pod Return of the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. I am Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
Hello, Levi.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Today, we're going to talk about the Conjurer class.
Woo!
Conjurer has appeared in some past Final Fantasy titles, but never in a mainline game until 14, where it is one of the 8 starting classes you can choose from. The Conjurer becomes the much more well-known white mage after level 30, and in this game, the Conjurer is a healer. The name feels kind of strange to me because Conjurers in fantasy fiction are usually either tricksters or what we would call arcane magic users in the weird science of fantasy that has evolved, and not like healing types who are one with nature.
Right. The conjuring in this context comes from being able to conjure natural energies to dispel corruption or other sort of natural blights.
Yep. Unnatural blights.
Hey.
As a conjurer, your toolbox is very basic. You've got your basic damage spell Stone. You got your damage over time Arrow, as in air, not as in you shoot an arrow. And then you got a couple heals, which you almost never use until you get to dungeons.
Yeah, I used him a couple of times on some of the instances, but you're giving me a look like, why? What did you do?
No.
Why are you in such peril?
When I was doing this in New Game Plus, I did it on the very easy setting because doing damage as a healer in this game is very boring.
Yeah, you're pushing one button.
Yeah, when you're relied upon to actually be a damage class as a healer, it sucks. Healing, I find to be very fun when you have a group with you.
Totally.
But if you have to just deal damage, stone, arrow, stone.
Yeah.
I was like, pass, and I just turned it very easy to skip the combat segments.
Because literally you just have the one button.
It's kind of a curse in this game because healing is a very complex toolbox, which you only need for tough fights. Not even dungeons, like we're talking trials and savage and so on, is when you really got to whip out all the healing tools. You don't need to whenever you're doing main story quest content alone. So it's kind of a puzzle the game has not solved yet in terms of giving healers something to do when they're all alone, but not making them like a full damage class and also a full healing class at the same time. Right.
So you have the whole point of the early Conjurer line is to basically train you on the use of your defensive spells. So you learn Stone, you learn Arrow, and then that's it. And even beyond that, there's really no training on how best to combine all of your healing abilities. And you don't get any training in the initial Conjurer quest line on healing.
No. Also, you don't get many healing tools yet. You don't even get regen until after.
That was driving me nuts. I'm like, I could absolutely throw at least a regen on myself, but I couldn't. But you don't have it. Yeah.
Nope. It's fine. It goes by fast, at least, like any other class does. So you get to the meteor full job very quickly.
The meteor full job? Or the meteor full job?
The meteor.
Okay. Meteor means something entirely different in this game.
And in general.
Yeah.
Anyway, in Eorzea, Conjuring has its origins in the mages that first communed with the elementals and won a place for the Gelmorans in the Black Shroud. You might recall last episode, the Gelmorans were stuck in their underground cave network city, but they wanted to come surface side into that sweet forest goodness. So the mages used their Aether manipulation abilities, to commune with the elementals of the Black Shroud and to reach a deal where they would be allowed to live in the forest if they were to protect and take care of it. The art of these mages would then evolve to become Conjuring. And this was taught to them by the elementals themselves. So not only is Conjuring just manipulating the forest's Aether, it's also tied up with actually communing with the elementals. Conjurers that are able to actually hear the elementals are called hearers.
Huh. Interesting they're not called listeners.
I guess.
If you're a good listener, it's a soft skill they don't give a shit about. Hearing them's good enough.
The main job of the Conjurers Guild that we have showcased is to caretake the forest. They're essentially glorified magical gardeners. And whenever there's
Park rangers. And gardeners, maybe. I don't know. Park ranger seems a little bit more appropriate for me.
I'd call it they pull the weeds, being corruption of the forest.
So they're landscapers?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm making a joke, but also not, because that's what you do in this quest is you go and you...
Yeah, we're monitoring these little pockets of corruption that pop up. And we go and
root them out.
Yep. Bloop. And everybody goes, hooray!
Part of their mission, which is not showcased here, but is in general, is that they are there to prevent the use of dangerous magics, which comes up more actually in the Black Mage quest line.
So, okay, well this ties into our, like around the level 50 Black Mage stuff, where...
Spoiler, yeah, okay,
yeah.
Yes. But yes, that's what I mean.
Is that what you mean?
Yep.
Now back to what you said. I didn't really get that message in this quest line.
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah. That's not, there's no white versus black sort of, showdown going on.
It's interesting you mention that though, because this practice, this kind of monitoring, nannying of magic comes back to the conflict between Vok and Amdapor back in the past eras, where the conflict between these two nations threw the Aether into such imbalance that it caused a calamity.
Oh, okay, so that literally was white versus black.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I guess, the white mages of that time totally forgot their lessons about maintaining balance. All of them forgot.
Conjurers and white mages are different things.
No, but, I'm talking about, back then. Were they still considered conjurers and not white mages?
Conjuring got its origins from the Galamoran mages that learned how to conjure from the elementals, which post-dates the existence of Amdapor. To reiterate, conjuring and white magic, different things entirely.
Gotcha. Okay, so history lesson, hooray. So conjuring persisted as conjuring for, what, centuries?
Yes.
Okay.
Ever since the Gelmorans moved into the Black Shroud.
And then at what point did conjuring become white magery?
Never.
Okay. That's just a handy little phrase we use once we get a jobstone.
When we get the jobstone, we become a white mage.
Right.
But that's a different story that we will see in a while.
Okay.
The evolution of a conjurer in general is not to become a white mage. But our conjurer as a player character will become a white mage.
Gotcha.
Just like every thaumaturge is not a black mage and so on. This is a step that we take, and the disciplines have related principles, but it doesn't mean that every single rogue or marauder or whatever, what have you,
will turn into, it's not a transition you just take for granted that will happen.
Correct.
So you will, and this is helpful to me. Eventually, you'll arrive at a career crossroads, like a job fair, for example. And would you like to continue conjuring? Which, like arcanists, have a totally different kind of job description and list of responsibilities.
Yes.
And we basically turn those earlier lessons into something that could be used in the battlefield.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Not only that, many of these jobs we get don't exist anymore today. Black Mage, for instance, is a big example of a forbidden art that we will take up as our thaumaturge character.
Right. Once again, confirming how special we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to conjuring, though. Before we press forward, we got to talk about the elements and corruption, because it's the only thing happening in this quest line.
That and babysitting, yeah.
Yep. So corruption in this case is something that happens when the Earth's wounds are prevented from healing and they begin to fester.
They become infected.
Correct.
Yeah.
When this happens, we can see that elemental sprites will turn bad, they'll become corrupted and aggressive. Animals also begin to become more aggressive, and they will attack people. Even normal, more docile herbivores, for instance, might rise up once they are agitated by this corrupted aether in these wounds in the earth itself.
Yes. And we'll see that.
In this quest line, we will cleanse corruption by drawing forth the corrupted elemental aether and then hitting it with rocks.
Fighting fire with fire, so to speak. Well, eventually we'll fight wind with rocks and water with rocks.
Nice.
Yeah.
That said, this kind of theme bothers me a little bit because we don't have conjurers in Thanalan or in La Nocia, for instance, that are running around doing whack-a-mole with corruption.
No. And I guess, and that's, I wanted to bring that up the last episode where we were talking about Gridania just in general and the Twelveswood, where the presence, more like the omnipresence of elementals and their drama, which is not a very diplomatic way of saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway, is very much a part of daily life and how they have to structure their society. And in La Nocia and Thanalan, that simply does not exist. It is not a concern at all, which seems odd. You would think that, I don't know, I feel like that would round out the entire, all of these three disparate continents. I think that would unify them in a way that speaks to just like the general unification and solidity of the universe that is being built.
So I have a cynical viewpoint and a generous viewpoint on this.
Okay.
My cynical one first is that the elementals are kind of whiny babies. They're like tropical fish in an aquarium, where if the pH changes by 0.01, they die.
Right. Yeah. So that's, I think that's where my use of the word drama comes from.
Yep. They are constantly just wailing about the corruption and the elements and yeah. And then we got to go and take care of the problem. So that's kind of my feeling here. If I were to take a very harsh view on this whole scenario, because we don't have corruption popping up everywhere else. It's just here.
Right. And it should.
There is corrupted aether elsewhere in the form of the big orange crystals that are popping down the ground after the calamity. But we don't have hordes of conjurers running up there and doing the whole whack-a-mole thing to put down the latest outbreak of corruption.
There would be hordes of conjurers in Mordona alone.
Yes,
Good
absolutely.
God. Yeah.
So it seems in this case like the elementals are extra sensitive to this thing. Now, being generous, we do know that the calamity has hit the elementals very hard, which is why they have gone from being terrible, wrathful beings to being whiny babies now. So
that's fair. Everybody's transitioning to their post-calamity selves. We can give them a little bit of a break.
We can say that the calamity and all of the volatile ether that was unleashed by Bahamut and the fall of Dalamud and so on, that has all put the earth in imbalance. And so there is an upwelling of this corruption that would not normally take place. And it requires, it's like little fires, pretty much. You put it out.
Yes, it's constant. Whereas before, I am sure that it was so much more stable, and it was not nearly as high maintenance.
Yes.
So that absolutely makes sense. And I'm sure after a while of, like, if you're getting bitten by bed bugs constantly, you're going to be a whiny bitch too.
Fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's corruption. Let's go and become a conjurer.
Yay! Like always, we venture over to the guild, and the guild's headquarters are in still Glade Fane in Gridania.
I think this gets the award for most annoying guild location.
Oh, it's such a trek. At least there's an aetherite right there, but then you gotta walk down this little hallway.
An aetherite right there being at the mouth of this earthen tunnel that goes probably a quarter mile. Quarter mile, excuse me.
Oh, thank you.
Into the earth, into this little secluded cave. At every 5 levels, at least, you gotta walk down there.
Back and forth.
And then walk back out of that little tunnel.
Yep. That said, while it is mechanically frustrating to deal with over and over and over again, it's visually immersive. I think it's cool.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, but
I won't deny that.
Of course, it's always worst when you are in one of these preliminary jobs because you're having to go to the guild all the fucking time.
Yep.
So after 30, it's less of an issue.
But what would you call it? The hollow in the earth has this raised platform that is surrounded by water and has these bioluminescent plants.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah. Probably the best guild headquarters. In
terms of decor, at least.
Yeah. No, it's really, like, it's almost like you're going into some sort of spiritual house that you feel like you have to be quiet in there.
Weird.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, you go to the guild, you talk to the receptionist, like always, to give you a little history on the job. And like I said, confirm your commitment. And then like, okay, cool, you're ready. Then go see Guildmaster.
The Guildmaster is a Pajal named Isumiyan. He looks like a little boy with straw-colored hair, except his short horns mark him as a Pajal. He's actually the oldest living Pajal in Gridania.
Oh, wow.
At over 200 years old.
Okay.
However, in all this time, he hasn't yet grown a personality.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. He'll be here all week.
He is the helpful knows best mentor. That's it.
I mean, basically, and I feel like every Pajal you will encounter in this game. So what, 4, 5? They're all pretty humorless. They're very much, but that's like their jam. They're born to serve a very specific and very important purpose. And, so Kane Senna, she is softer, but again, still very, very serious. And not haughty that turns you into a pool of blubbering horniness like Merlveb.
What?
That's
Why is
new...
this on the table right now?
But no. Just like, other inhabitants of the continents that are... Whenever I say continents, it sounds like I'm saying incontinence, and it's distracting me. Anyway, Eorzea, let's say. On a similar level, you can gauge the differences in their charisma, So that's what I'm doing. I'm just comparing like with like. I think the one Pajal that actually is kind of fun, quote unquote, is her younger sister. And I don't remember her name. Reo Senna, I think. I think it's Reo Senna. Because the little brother would be E-R-O something. Because there's a very specific naming convention for them.
We'll get to all these guys later on.
Anyway, he's very serious, but again, he's still, he's approachable. He's full of wisdom. The other thing that bothers me is are his eyes. His pupils never vary, and it because they're like a very light silver color. There's a creepiness to it, which probably does well to inform his character a bit.
This guy uses 1 million words to tell us conjurers are healers. So, Jen.
Yeah.
Do you vow to embrace nature?
Sure do.
Good, because it's time to go kill some animals.
Yeah, this was hilarious to me. The sanctity of nature, the very tight balance we must maintain. But that is exactly how they justify you going out and killing a bunch of things.
It's okay. They're overpopulated.
It's overpopulated.
So
yep.
Go kill them.
Yep. It's an invasive species post-calamity, which is fair. Okay. It's believable.
Okay. That's done. And now we get sent to go attune ourselves to the ambient aether of the world, also known as level up for a bit.
There are some things that Isumiyan says that I find to be very I don't know. It lends a weight and importance to conjuring and the relationship to nature, which can be, it's very easy to make that, trite and derivative. So I wrote this down. I don't know, for some reason this passage felt particularly poignant. Breathe deep and open your eyes to that which cannot be seen. Feel the myriad life around you and draw upon this boundless reservoir of energy. Take up your cane and use it to lend that energy form, which I think is a great way to visualize exactly what it is you're doing and how you're conjuring fucking anything. Feel the myriad life around you and draw upon this boundless reservoir of energy. Draw upon it. Borrow from it.
That is very poignant.
And it will also lend that energy to you if you are worthy. And then take up your cane and use it to lend that energy form. So it's like you are facilitating the balance. Anyway, so I thought that was very nice.
Once we are sufficiently attuned, we go see Nolanel at the Blessed Bud.
Cute.
Which is not a weed shop.
It's not a dispensary.
Nope.
For shame.
He is solid as a rock, by which I mean he is good at using the earth element.
Solid like a rock.
We head to the bud in the North Shroud, which is a little sapling that is spreading from a tree stump. This is said to be the home of an elemental. Nolanel wants us to go attune to the earth in a nearby cabbage patch. He says the aether there is corrupted. A tainted earth sprite pops out and we destroy it, and that's it.
Ta-da!
We get back. Nolanel tells us that the elementals are pleased with our work. See, Sylphie?
Here we go. Right, isn't that right, Sylphie? And then the camera turns around and there's this little brat standing there. Like, whatever, I don't need to learn shit about shit.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Sylphie is a young healer with a big attitude. Nolanel is trying to get her to learn about the elements, but she has an innate talent for healing, and she thinks this makes her better than everyone else, and she ain't need none of the shit.
She doesn't understand the need to develop this relationship and to understand how, we don't know this either at this point, but her use of healing magics, because she refuses to learn about how to draw upon this energy of nature, she's simply just depleting her own.
Right.
And like everyone around her says it, and it's crazy to me that they're not just drilling this into her head with so much more urgency than they are.
Let's talk about her now because we get her deal piecemeal.
No, yeah. The Conjurer quest line is the Sylphie quest line.
Yes.
It's not about us. It's not about anybody else. It's about Sylphie.
So as mentioned, she is a natural at healing, but she thinks that since she's good at one thing, she doesn't need to learn anything from the guild whatsoever.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we've all been there. We've all been that asshole kid. But she takes it to a crazy degree.
Yeah. So a good conjurer will borrow the aether of nature. They are respectful of the source of their energies. However, since Sylvie just goes la 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 whenever someone tries to give her a lesson, she doesn't know this and just gets angry when someone tries to tell her something and thinks she knows better.
Yes.
Like Jin.
Yes. No hesitation.
Sylphie had a mother with the same gift. She was a talented healer, but she didn't have any conjurer training. This misuse of conjurer magics by her mother eventually tapped out her aether. Her mother lost her magics and then killed her, and then she just died from having expended all of her own aether and doing her healing.
Yes, and Sylphie doesn't understand the nature of her mom's death.
Right.
She just understands that, her mom did it too, and she was basically fine. Her death was unrelated.
I find it stretching of my credulity to believe that Sylphie is actually part of the guild. I don't know why she would ever show up in the first place to join the guild, unless she just thought she'd be, like
a shoo-in.
A+, every class. Don't worry about studying, you got it.
That's probably it. Or they'll just promote me to hearer and or teacher right away. And this is how I will make my mark. Something like that. Yeah.
But she hasn't done even the first lesson of the guild, which we are doing right now.
We don't know how long she's also been a member of this guild. Like, has it been a year and she still hasn't done lesson 1? Has it been a month? Like, we don't know.
I feel like it's in the month-ish range is my impression.
Right, because otherwise that would be ridiculous.
They must have, given her a pass because of her mother.
Well, what they see is an incredible and rare talent. This is something innate. You cannot learn what she is able to do. Obviously, that is something that they want to nurture and cultivate and make it big. But she's totally resistant because she thinks I'm good.
Yep.
You can't make me learn about nature. Okay. All I want is to heal. You can't make me do other things.
That's what she says in this little glade.
Yeah.
Then she heals us to prove her point and walks off.
Oh my god, that move. And everybody's jaw drops either and I think it's a mixture of, one, they're just impressed that she has this skill, and two, just the sheer fucking audacity of her to do a mass heal like that, and just the disrespect.
Yes.
Yeah. The arrogance.
Back at the guild, Isumiyan expresses his worry that Sylphie's blatant disregard for the source of her abilities will result in a dangerous imbalance and grave consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But since we're such a prodigy, and we get this shit at level 5 about how great we are, we haven't done crap, and we're such a good boy already.
Yeah. We vanquished an earth sprite.
But
a bad earth sprite.
Because of our prodigious abilities, please look out for Sylphie.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir, I guess. Next up is the Teaching of the Wind from Hearer Wolfew.
I think it's pronounced Wolfoy.
Sure. Hearer Wolfoy in the East Shroud.
Yeah, she's a very young hearer, isn't she? That's a hard word to say.
Yeah, that's an annoying word. Wolfoy wants us to learn about wind by killing a swarm of honeybees. Okay. The bees here are evidently odd since there are no flowers in the spot that they are congregating. It must be something weird.
Yeah, obviously they've been moved here by some nefarious force.
So we kill the bees, then we go back there, and sure enough, there's a tainted wind sprite.
Gross.
We kill it, go back to the guild, get a pat on the back. Sylphie is lurking nearby and doesn't miss this chance to bash our studies.
Yeah, I don't remember what she says, but it was like, why are you doing this? You're so much better than that. Just, why are you even here?
She's here to brag, though, that she has learned the raise spell.
No, that's back at the guild, right?
We're at the guild.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm still talking to Wolfoy.
Sylphie's at the guild, too.
Yeah, she is. Though I like how the respective teachers, Nulanel, Wolfoy so far, have been able to very eloquently express the emotions that these tainted sprites are able to make you feel. Kind of the general vibe of their presence. So with earth, you have crushing force. You have grinding weight. What an interesting adjective for that. And with wind, you have they both have good and bad qualities, right? Earth is foundational, but it's also it's crushing. And then you have wind, which is it's soft and gentle, but also it torments one's form. It dances across every surface, leaving 1,000 tiny wounds in its wake. So it's soft, but it's sharp. Well, Sylphie says that later on. I just really like the way they describe these elements.
That is some good prose. I found this just to be so much nature is nature that I just rolled my eyes and clicked through it.
You were probably already, past the point of giving shits. Because you're so distracted by Sylphie and her bullshit. Yeah, but that's why I'm here, okay? Look at the poetry.
I am paying close attention because I'm trying to get what I can out of this, but I am turned off by just how predictable every step of the way is.
Sure.
In terms of both the non-story here and also just nature is nature.
Correct.
It's not surprising. It's not interesting. It is the blandest form this can take because it's all right, we got our elements and they're like the things they sound like.
I mean, basically, yes. We do have to handicap our feedback on this a little bit because we're not new to the game, and we're not new to how the game frames these things. I don't know, like we've been hearing about the elements and nature and blah blah blah.
In every single generic fantasy game since time immemorial.
That's also fair. They haven't really done anything new with that.
They have, but I'll say that for the wrap up.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a preview of my bias here. It's not biased. I form these opinions based off the experiences I have.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you just had higher hopes, I guess, for the treatment of elements in this game.
This is in the 1.0 functional story area, where this is not anything to write home about. I would not be doing this game still or doing this podcast if the game were 1.0 quality throughout. I didn't have the highest hopes for it, but it doesn't mean, though, that it's not unimpressive.
Sure.
Anyway, so
we're back at the guild.
Back at the guild.
Mm-hmm.
Sylphie has learned how to cast the raise spell, which will resuscitate someone who has fallen, and she wants to rub it in Yi Sumiyan's face.
He is immediately horrified. Jesus Christ, girl, what are you doing? You're messing with powers you literally do not comprehend, and you will not comprehend them. This will kill you. And this is, so he gets angry with her, and he's like, under no circumstances are you to meddle with Rays. Like, do you fucking understand me? And she's like, fine, or whatever, and she runs away, probably.
Yes, she does. And surely nothing will come of this. She'll listen, and all is good. Let's just leave her alone and not worry about her.
She'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up, water time.
Same deal. We go to a place. We dispel a tainted sprite.
Bad water. We talked to Brother Joaquin.
Yeah, that's how I was pronouncing it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who tells us the water elementals are pleased.
Ooh.
He's in the middle of telling us about the circle of life when a wood whaler rolls up and exclaims that a herd of antelope have gone berserk. They need a healer stat.
Yeah, they've just been going ham on some whalers, and there are scores of people, not scores, but a decent chunk of people who are severely wounded. And so they need healers, and they need people to help fight the antelopes.
Yep. We drop by the whaler outpost here, which is a wooden tower on a hill. We heal Anne Whaler, and then rush out to support the battle. Yeah,
literally Anne. Yeah, like we show up, heal Anne dude. But then they're like, no, okay, I got this. You need to go fight on the front lines with my one spell. Do we have two? Do we have arrow at this point?
I don't recall.
I don't recall either.
I think...
I feel like probably, yes.
I did.
We would have gotten it on the wind quest, I
yes,
think.
We
do. Okay, so 2 spells. Cool.
Also cure.
Oh, cure 1, yeah.
Yes, 3 spells, Jen.
Well, I'm saying to go into battle, we've got like the 2 offensive spells, which they refer to them as defensive spells.
It fits the theming.
Sure.
It's offense in
It's basically defending yourself so that you can better heal people.
Yes.
Right.
So we rush to the front lines where these whalers are facing down the beasts. The cutscene here is pretty cool. It shows these sweet spear moves.
I totally missed the sweet spear moves.
Yeah, they're like flipping their spears around and whacking antelopes. It's a nice, exciting little battle bit before we join the fray, and then it sucks at that point. Like, I'm not trying to be facetious here. This blows because everyone is useless except for you. So you show up here, you're the healer.
Yeah.
There is a handful of whalers who are fighting these antelopes. They do shit all for damage.
They're getting their asses beat. They're just getting knocked over left and right by these antelope.
This is a chance to actually do some real healing and support people that are fighting, like you would do in a dungeon where you have characters who are hopefully competent.
Thank you. Like, you should not have been doing really any offensive spelling at all. Like, you should have been there in a supportive capacity to learn how best to heal a group of people.
Yes. But no. There are 2 things wrong with this. 1, the whalers do no damage. So you're forced to kill all the antelope yourself. Mm-hmm. And 2, they have giant health pools. So if you have to heal them because they're getting low in health, it takes for fucking ever to top them off.
Yeah, because you don't have regen. You don't have medica. You don't have...
It's not the toolbox. It's just like cure alone is enough for a player at this level. But the whalers have low defense and high health. So if you want to heal them, you gotta spam cure.
Yeah. twice. Yeah, right time.
I think you can just let them die and there's no consequence. Which,
but still, I mean, I'm not gonna let him die,
right?
So yes, you're split between these two tasks. Sylphie's there.
Sylphie's there. She's casting one spell on one guy the entire fight. When the fight ends, she finally finishes her spell. It's raise. She raises a downed whaler back to life, and then she collapses.
We fucking told you. Yeah, she totally overexerts herself, which is exactly what Eisumian said would happen. Actually, I think she got off kind of light here. Eisumian was summoned for this whole kerfuffle, and he shows up and sees Sylphie, and he's like, I fucking told you. God damn it. So there's a scolding that happens, and he's like, I refuse to allow you to follow in your mother's path. Because he knows why she died. Sylphie doesn't. So, but again, like, he says this in such a way that is not sympathetic to the fact that she is either ignorant or willfully ignorant about her mother's death.
If he had any tact whatsoever, he would not use the M word in this
Correct.
conversation.
Yeah, do not evoke mother in this scolding, because what that is going to do is galvanize her even more against your teachings. And that's exactly what happens. Because obviously, I mean, what, she's 13?
Sure, thereabouts.
Sure. So, she's lost her mother, and of course, her mother is on a pedestal. Again. So Eisumian he doesn't have that understanding. There's nuance that needs to happen here when he's talking to her and try to saving her from herself.
So she runs off crying. He at least realizes that he fucked up, and he asks us to go and talk to her.
Right. Yeah.
We do, and she's a short ways away, distraught that she has lost her magic, period.
Right. She can't sense anything anymore.
Because she has drawn all of her Aether
She's lucky
into
she
this
didn't die.
spell. She is. She wants to be left alone, though. Time passes. Finally, Sylphie has agreed to learn some actual conjuring. So we're going to do the same things we just did for ourselves with
literally the same shit.
Earth, water,
but Sylphie
wind.
is watching this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she can't even cast a single elemental spell yet. She's going to watch us do it.
Yeah. So Eisumian is hoping that, one, he understands, at least he can grok this, that Sylphie is kind of in awe of us and respects us. Cool. Because probably we're not, like, trying to tell her what to fucking do and how to, remember her mother all the fucking time. So we don't allow her. She watches us while we, do the earth, wind, water stuff.
Yeah. And we go back to the same cabbage patch. Earth sprite pops out. We kill it. And Sylphie is amazed by this.
Like, she feels this very deeply. And I mean, that was the point, right? We wanted her to, like feel the weight of these interactions and, like, understand exactly how important it is to wield these spells.
It's a bit boggling that she hasn't seen a single earth spell. Stone, it's a spell name being cast.
That's a whole other, like, fucking plot hole, but whatever.
Her stress has opened her heart to the elements, and now she can perceive them.
Okay, yeah. So she has, like, a moment here where she lets her guard down and she can express how the earth sprite made her feel, and she also has the ability to feel and hear these things much more strongly than even her teachers.
Yes,
but she stops short of, like, going on and she's like, never mind, it's fine, let's get this over with, because like she realizes that she just kind of showed her hand a bit. Not showed her hand isn't the right way to express that. She's trying to be cool, play it cool.
Yes.
I don't need this shit, even though it's super awesome. She felt it, like, it was, like, I think, pure rage that she felt from this thing. But then, of course, she stops herself from continuing and straightens her shit up and, like, let's go, whatever. None of the next bullshit thing that I have to do, whatever. She lets her guard down more and more as we continue with each element. So with wind being next, she doesn't stop herself. She actually communicates what it is that she felt, and wasn't trying to pretend to be anything or shut the conversation down. And then we go on to water, and she's even more, like, overcome by these feelings, these things that she can sense, and the strength of them. So she has a bit of an epiphany.
Later on at the guild, Sylphie has run off again. She's been spotted by some conjurers on a taint cleansing mission out in the South Shroud.
The taint quest? Yeah.
Yes. We go track her down. There's a settlement there. We find her in the common room tavern in
Buscaron's druthers.
Yes.
She's literally in the tavern, yeah.
She's going over her mother's journal. Her mother thought that conjurers made nature angry. This doesn't get explained, really. I think it's supposed to be the battle and whatever that she was healing in was what got them upset, but she misheard them or something. We don't really learn what the confusion was about.
I think, no, because she was untrained. Literally, she just walked through life falling back on her innate talents. She didn't learn anything about them. She didn't develop them. So it's very easy for her to confuse the cause and effect of things.
Which makes sense.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Sylphie sees these things in her mother's journal and is like, oh, conjuring bad. I'm not going to do it whatsoever to not make nature angry.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this band of conjurers going off to cleanse this taint. So she's like, oh no, I got to stop them.
Fuck.
So
They're going to make it worse.
Yes.
They have no idea what they're doing. And you do. Okay, here we go.
We chase her down. She's yelling at the conjurers who are fighting off some tainted earth, mud pies, which are our slimes.
Yes.
A Trent, and angry animals.
Are you saying Trent? I've always been pronouncing it as Treant.
Treant?
I don't know.
Now you're making me question myself. It could be Treant.
Okay.
Once again, though, we do most of the work in this solo instance because reasons.
Mm-hmm. This instance was confusing for me because there was everything going on. And maybe I did it incorrectly because I tend to do that. I tend to not read stuff. I just go in and I start casting blah, blah. There was, the group of conjurers, which needed healing very badly. And then you had this constant wave of mobs. So you had the Tainted Earth sprite, which was like the big boss of the group. And then you had these ads that kept coming in and kept coming and coming and coming. So you had other treants, you had mud pies, you had all sorts of shit. And so it was trying to defeat the ads, heal the conjurers, and also do damage to the main point of the exercise. And so I was healing myself, healing the other people, trying to do damage, like all of these things. But I felt really discombobulated. And I'm like, it should not be this difficult. Holy shit, I should not be flirting with death this often. But then something changes, and suddenly I'm getting healed. Things are starting to kind of calm down, and there's more control being exerted over these evil elements. And that's when I noticed the elementals, the little fairy folk. Well, they look fairy-ish, but yes, this is like the manifestation, probably not the elementals, but a manifestation the elementals have contributed to the fight.
Are you saying you actually saw the elementals here yourself?
Yes. Yeah, these were not standard mobs. So this was a very distinctive entity.
So yeah, that's actually didn't know they ever appeared, Jen.
I totally missed them the first time when I did Conjurer for myself.
Well, I did too.
Yeah,
because I don't recall seeing these things. I think I just focus fired on the
right.
Because when you killed the tainted sprite, the thing ends.
Right.
So I think I probably just did that.
Mentally, I was just so like pulled in every direction. I'm like, I had to do all the things. Yeah.
That rewarded you because by not having done I
didn't kill it right away, and that allowed me to
see this thing.
See them, yeah.
That's very interesting because I didn't realize that the elementals actually appeared physically in this game until this instance. I'm pretty sure they didn't appear at the last fight of the questline.
No.
Because I let the one actually go on because I was curious if there's any more dialogue coming from Sylphie in that last fight.
With Aquaman? Sorry. Moogle me out.
Whatever. Spoiler in 5 minutes.
it's not critical to MSQ.
I swear they don't ever appear again as far as I know in terms of like a physical form.
I cannot think of any other example.
Which is wild. They appear on the level 25 quest only if that's the case.
So random. But their presence is so easily missed, obviously, because I missed it my first time. You've missed it twice now.
I just focus fired on the Tainted Sprite. It went down. I was like, okay, so there's too much shit going on. I'm not going to fall in the trap of like doing whack-a-mole with the ads. I'm just going to burn
like Jen,
the main target, because I hate healing these NPCs in these solo battles.
Yeah, it seems.
So I was like, fuck that shit. I'm going to focus fire. The thing goes down. I win. And then I miss out on this little cool moment, apparently. Which...
Right, because so I had gotten myself into a situation. And so that's why I was able to notice when the situation became less bad all of a sudden.
You were saying some words about this being like a projection or something. These are the actual elementals.
These were them.
Yes.
Holy shit.
This is what they look like.
Okay. I remember like our conversation last time. You're like, they're like, sort of like fairies. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Great. It was very cool. And they were so small. And their arrival wasn't indicated in any way. There was no like NPC dialogue or a light or any sort of other graphic effect, visual effect that was a portent to their arrival at all, which seems really weird because I think that was kind of a big ass moment.
I agree.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, and if you missed it, which is really fucking easy, the only other allusion to them existing is in Sylphie's dialogue afterwards. She was like, nature actually helped. That's incredible. So, but if you hadn't seen them, you could easily hand wave that away as just like nature being nature.
Your powers too.
Right, exactly.
So like your stone spell is nature helping.
It was like, did you see the elementals? The elementals showed up. Nothing like that. It's still very vague.
Yep.
This is really weird.
I feel like the elementals being actual movers and shakers in the Twelveswood would redeem a lot of the boringness and genericness of Gridania and the Black Shroud.
Yes.
It just boggles me that they decided to take the one thing that makes this place distinct and put it so far in the backseat.
We can't really speak to the decision there. It could be, myriad factors. Just, could it just be considered white noise in a game that already has so much going on?
The white noise is everyone talking about elementals, blah, 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 without any sort of teeth to that statement.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Moving on. So that happened. Sylphie's like, oh, nature's great now. I love nature. That's it. Her mother is now in the past. No more mother stuff going on. Her mother's wrong. We're right. Fuck you, Mom.
Kind of. Well, she recognizes her mother's error.
She does, but it's so weird that this pivotal moment in her life is kind of dropped and left to us to determine the resolution. Well,
Ismion does kind of follow up with her in the debrief back at the guild. What did you learn? And what did you learn about your mother? In that way, she's able to kind of ex post facto apply context to her mother's life and passing, because she has gained something that her mother never did. Yeah, so yes, of course, that's going to provide her with more insight. So that worked.
So later, this is level 30, amazingly. I just went by so quickly with really so little incident. I was amazed.
Not a lot of meat. Not a lot of meat to this.
What about Meteor?
No, Levi. No. All right, talk to Sid about Meteor.
One could say that everything's about the Meteor because the corruption in Twelveswood is a after effect of the calamity. Jin.
You're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Anyway, level 30. Here we are. There are now reports of more corruption still. We're going to go figure out what's going on. Sylphie has not yet learned any elemental spells, but she's going to go with us to interpret the will of the elementals for us.
Right. So this is a buddy cop drama. We're going to do the fighting, and Sylphie is going to do the interpretating.
The hearing.
Yeah. And the two of us together, hoo boy.
But we're to avoid any danger whatsoever.
Yeah, okay.
So back in the South Shroud, we deal with some more corrupted areas until Sylphie tells us that she senses a big problem nearby. This is going against our orders, but she wants us to go check it out. We find an area that is pregnant with corruption, But suddenly, it recedes. A hush falls over the forest. We inspect it closely, and out pops an Ahriman void scent. These are the classic Final Fantasy enemies, which are the big eyeballs
Big
with
floating eyeballs.
spindly
I love them. Yeah.
arms and legs and bat wings. They look super cool.
I love them. Yeah. So my go-to minion is the Major General, obviously. The only other one really that I use is Nero in his little toy car, and this guy, the winged eyeball.
Yeah, the Ahriman.
Yeah, but this guy is called Aquaman. He has an actual proper name.
I think that's his name because it's hard to tell. Like in the MSQ, the Blangas are gargoyle type void scent.
Yeah.
But they are called Blangas, but that's not their name. That's like their genus.
Sure.
Or whatever.
Right. And this is after Sylphie kind of led us around the South Shroud, kind of following her feeling. You know, she was sensing the force and taking us to a variety of locations until we found like the big one. And then we get there and she's like it's holding its breath, which I found really creepy and really cool. I like that feeling. I don't know, it made it feel a little bit more ominous. Like we had a little bit more skin in the game. It made Sylphie scared. Like she could tell this thing was big, that it was wrong. And we finally get to the area where it's supposed to be the strongest, and she's like it's holding its breath, like it's lying in wait, it's trying to hide. And then she sees just the tiniest little disruption in the movement of the air. And I got it. Like I was immersed. I felt that tension. Oh, that was great.
Well, nice. This fight, though, is super boring.
Super easy.
We just stone this Ahriman until it dies.
Like, no, literally the climax of this whole thing was the previous quest. It was not this one.
Yes. There are some little imps that come out too, but whatever. I
did not pay attention to them at all. On this one, I focused fire on the guy.
Finally, Jin learns.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
However, like I mentioned, I was actually slow playing this to see if there's more dialogue or something once it got low in health, but nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for trying.
We dispatched this eyeball void scent, and Sylphie collapses out of jubilation for how happy the elementals are.
Well, like, so the fight's over, and we look over at Sylphie, and she's like in a fetal position on the ground. Like, what now? God damn it. And you walk over there, and she's just giggling and just overcome with how gorgeous nature feels to her in that moment, which I liked.
And then she heals us because, we're wounded a little bit,
like,
but
Aww.
It's all good because she's now drawing from nature.
Yeah, she's like, I don't feel it taking shit out of my backstock anymore.
We go back to the guild, and E. Sumiyan ain't mad. He actually meant for this to happen.
Yeah. Well, he knows Sylphie. That's fair.
He's the one who dropped the M-bomb earlier.
Well, okay. So this makes sense. Where you can be a very skilled tactician, but you can't talk to people. Just like our girl, the Arcanist. Remember her?
No, I do not. I blocked that out.
Fine.
Never happened.
But yes, so he's the tactician, and he understands how people think and move in that regard, but he doesn't know how to talk to them.
It all worked out in the end, and all according to his plan. And now we're a great conjurer, and Sylphie's going to go become a hero because she's so attuned to the elementals.
I mean, that's correct. I mean, she's like, Harry Potter. He's going to be an Auror because he has a very particular set of skills.
And that's the end.
That's the end.
I guess.
And we get Cure too.
So take Cure 1 off your bar. Never look at it again.
Don't fall into that trap, people. Don't look for that proc.
Nope.
It'll never happen.
This questline has helped me to cement my dislike of Gridania.
Jesus Christ.
I'm serious. I'm working
I believe you.
On why I don't like it, because the first time playing through the game, I was not being as analytical as I am now. I didn't like the Gridania bits that showcased Gridania. There's plenty of good action that happens in the Black Shroud. But when they're playing up the themes of the city and the characters there, I do not have fond recollections. but I was not so in tune with like why that was.
Right.
And going through it again, now that I've have the past experience and I'm looking for more details, I'm realizing that everything I'm seeing in Gridania is aggressively bland and right on the nose for nature city
that's exactly
tropes.
Correct. Yes.
Nothing is surprising.
This is like Fantasy 101 aesthetically, orally, thematically. It's all stuff you have seen and experienced before, and that is really disappointing for you.
Correct.
And that's fair. I still, though, I mean, objectively, it is a beautiful place.
No one's saying it's not attractive.
I know. But like that outweighs all of the other stuff for me. Like I still very much enjoy being in that environment.
Well, I'm not going to take away your enjoyment from you, Jen.
Like I said last time, like rolling around the Twelveswood on my chocobo and listening to the music, especially like Bent Branch Meadows in the morning. That music is so beautiful. And, watching the sunrise and these beams of light shining through the trees and the leaves and the rocks and the water and the birds and the crickets and all these noises. And then you fly through a fate. Fuck! God damn it! Or I engage in battle accidentally and then the music stops and that whole, like, reverie that I was trapped in is
You could turn
gone.
off battle music, Jen.
Oh, I could. Maybe I should, actually. Because, sometimes
I
like it. I don't know.
Jen, the place I turned off battle music, the one place was in the Raktika Greatwood.
Yeah, I love the music.
Of course.
I love the music there. It's a meme, but it's still really, really awesome.
Oh, okay, that's spoilers.
Just Moogle me out.
So there's that. This game was made in like 2013, whatever. This game is 9 years old as of A Realm Reborn. The nature trope was old then. This doesn't get excused for its age because it's not that old.
Yes. No, I mean, like anything past, I don't know, Lord of the Rings. No, I mean, there are so many properties that utilize this, like, this aesthetic and this,
yeah. It's a shame and a waste that they decided to go so down the middle with this area.
Though, devil's advocate here, and someone who likes to apply a lot more grace to things, because it is a fledgling adventurer's like first introduction to the game, to this world, that might be considered a softer transition.
Show off what makes your world special. Every person knows what as fantasy elfland is like. It's in the water. If you want to have your own world, make it something unique.
Also, what is up with elf lands and Art Nouveau architectural styles? I think they being developers, they make up for it in future areas.
Sure. Anyway, besides that, though, I feel like this quest line teaches us next to nothing about what even is going on here. Like everything we talked about the source of corruption and the elementals and what they are and why they care, that's all pulling in other sources, other experiences to put the pieces together. The quest line just talks a lot about complaining elementals and cleansing taints, but it doesn't tell you why that's in the ecosystem.
Correct. So, literally, being a conjurer is being reactionary.
Yep.
There's no being proactive in eliminating the corruption from the source or eliminating the source. It's just like these things pop up and then we go to them and we kill them and then we continue just doing that forever and ever. So yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, at the very end, we get that some of this corruption and is caused by a rogue void scent.
Yes.
Like, is that the case for all of it? Or is it just this one case? I don't know. Like, is this corruption pop up simply because, like, there are still remnants of calamity energy kind of bubbling through the surface? Is it all void scent? Is it a mixture of like, I don't know. We still don't know.
I think that the game itself is not sure what to do with conjurers. They are coming up dry for ideas as to how to make this concept interesting. Because the quest line doesn't go anywhere, really. It doesn't make a point about the world. It's just, okay, so what do conjurers do? They keep the balance of nature. And that doesn't spur the imagination.
No, and I think that's why they introduced Sylphie, so that we can have this sort of awakening to nature by proxy. Because they can't do it with our character, obviously. They can't make us feel feelings or refuse to learn things. So we have to see it happen to another character, so that we kind of like get it. So that's the how and why. That's like the only way they could really make that work.
That talks about why they may have chosen Sylphie, but I'm talking about the point of this being a theme for a class that players will be. If you are excited about playing something, if I want to be a gladiator or if I want to be a rogue that has evocative concepts attached to it, and you can imagine yourself doing things tied to that class.
I get you. Yeah.
But Conjurer 1 doesn't speak to what it does with the name.
Correct.
Like even Warden might have been better, possibly.
Oh, that is cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like a very, very generic name for someone who does magic or tricks, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. And not in like a necessarily positive way.
Yes.
It speaks to like, illusion and manipulation. Not so much, like you said, like a protector, a guardian, a warden, something that has a little bit more of a not like a necessarily positive connotation, but something that we can relate to as human beings.
Yes.
And feeling like they were actually doing some good. I don't know, instead of just like pulling shit out of thin air, like rabbits out of hats.
This is purely speculation, but I would assume people who go this path are excited to become white mages. White mage is a job that has been with Final Fantasy since day one.
Mm-hmm.
White mage has been an iconic class throughout the series, and there are many notable examples of popular white mage characters that, even though they have a support role, are still compelling characters and do interesting things. And that is, I'm assuming, what evokes excitement about being a white mage. And that is the carrot, though, at the end of the Conjurer tunnel. That's
the bioluminescent carrot at the end of the...
Exactly. But this is a chance to tell you something about the world. We learn a lot about the world through other classes that have active roles in it. But this, it maintains the status quo, but not in an exciting way.
Right. You don't feel very... There's no, like, investment, I guess.
Yep. What they need here, if they want to go with the whole caretaker role for Conjurers, is they need a corruption zone that shows what the stakes are. You need a place in the Black Shroud that got hit by a chunk of Dalamud that is fucked the shit up.
Yeah, it's just like a wellspring. Like that fucking hole in the ground in like the Middle East, I think, where it's just like it's constantly emitting, I think, methane or some sort of gas. And somebody threw like a Molotov cocktail in there and it's just been burning for decades. So if we have a place to go like that, like fucking Alder Springs would have been amazing for that. Just this constant wellspring of corruption and evil where we could, practice our skills would have been really cool.
Yeah, so we don't see any evidence as players of what will happen if we don't do the whack-a-mole stuff that we're doing during the quest. There are plenty of places, like we mentioned, that don't have conjurers run around that are doing pretty fine. We don't have corruption rising up and tainting the land and so on and ruining life for everyone there. They've got their own they have their own problems, but
yeah,
corrupted elementals are not one of them.
I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one.
So that's one idea as to how to make this interesting, is to actually show you what the stakes are and then have you play off that. Give you something that you care about or care to prevent.
Where you can grasp the danger involved with letting corruption run rampant.
Yes.
And not nipping it in the bud. Nature jokes. Yes, I mean that goes for a lot of these early quests too, where you don't feel like really you have any skin in the game. You're just going through the motions.
I think that even for Marauder, which we talked about, that class lacking a strong identity, that quest line felt to me like it had big stakes because it kept it at such a small scale that the stakes felt significant in that story.
Yes, right. So for our small little community there, yes, this is a huge blight that we had to deal with. Whereas this quest, the danger was actually even worse potentially than, you know, a rampant bull. But we're dealing with it in such a cute way. It's, yeah, it makes it that much easier for it to kind of like wash over you, like blah, 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 blah.
Yep. And if you're not going to take the corruption route, there needs to be something about where these powers come from that makes them more interesting than just nature. Give it a source of power that has some kind of stakes besides nature feel-goods. This art was taught to the first conjurers by the elementals. The elementals, by repute, are these powerful, wrathful beings. So play up that element of it.
That's huge.
Kind of intended.
Yeah, this skill set was given to us by the elementals themselves. This skill was passed down by the gods, but the weight of that is not, there's no tie into that at all.
No. And as we discovered, they do have elementals running around in one instance, at least. But anyway, give us a patron that we are afraid of. You know, make us go to some crazy, remote, scary place and have an elemental put the fear of God, like, I mean that literally.
Yeah, the fear of itself.
Yes, in us. And then have that hanging over our head and watching us as we do our business.
Correct. Like, and we always know that this is something we need to placate.
Yes. The themes are there. They could have made this something more special. Anyway, so obviously that's my feeling on this class quest, which is it's pretty boring. I don't hate it like Arcanist. Like,
no, I mean, it's just it serves its purpose for sure.
Yes.
As a, you know, very rudimentary class to get the game started, and this is, like I said, just a warm transfer into the rest of Eors. Yeah. I mean, it's about as unremarkable as you can get with a class quest, is what I would call it. Not offensive. I don't hate anyone. Sylphie, even though she is kind of an archetypal, moody teen, her character's fine. You know, she has a nice little arc in this thing. Well, yeah. So I mean, you can understand, like, she's a kid. She's she's doing kid shit, and she'll come around, and she does.
Yep.
So yeah.
That's it. I've got no other comments.
Same.
Great.
Good talk.
Well, I am looking forward to doing Archer and Lancer, because those are much less about the Twelveswood itself and more about the people within it. Cool. And they have more interpersonal drama, and I mean that in a good, interesting way.
Okay. I've never done Archer before, so I'm actually looking forward to that.
Great.
But
next time, though, we are going to resume the Gridania main story quest. We have just arrived in Gridania. We met Mother Immune, and we're heading out the door at last. More on that next time.
Thanks for listening, you guys. I'm just going to go ahead and plug the social medias if you want to get in touch with us in any way, shape, or form. You can hit us up on Twitter at podreturn, or you can email us at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. And with that, hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.
I'll see you next time, Jen.
Your mom.
What the fuck?